Hello friends, Namaskar. I am Anil Kumar Srivastav, present before you. First of all, I would like to congratulate the all scientists of ISRO and all the other scientists of its sister organizations and the supportive staff, which has shown its mettle by sending successfully the Aditya L1 mission today at 11:30 IST. Within the 10 days of successful launching of the Chandrayaan 3rd on the south pole of moon. So congratulations to the 1.4 billion people of India and nearly 10 million people abroad. It is a historical moment in the history of India. Thus, Indian space scientists are showing their knowledge and their standard of knowledge which the world is recognizing. As we see that the G20 is going to be held in India and all the great heads of the countries are coming into India, so this event will give and will take India to the higher stature. But before we study and tell about the Aditya L1, which has been sent today by C-57 rocket, we go to the ancient India, and the most ancient Indian book, Rig Veda, says about the sun. It talks about the sun. There is a query in Rig Veda where the sun goes in the night and which power is making it to move, and what power and what kind of power is making it to transmit a large amount of energy, and where the energy is generated. These kinds of queries we find in the Rig Veda, and we also find in Upanishads various things about the sun. And if we go to study the ancient India, the great scientist Aryabhatta, who wrote Aryabhattiyam, and he has explained that these, as we move in the boat in the river and think that the river is moving, and so the sun is also appears to be moving, but that is not the reality. And thereafter, the next scientist, Baramihir, in his Panch Siddhantika, says that there is a lunar eclipse and there is a solar eclipse, and he not only studied the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, but also very, very accurately told the timing of the happening of these events. And it was Baramihir who wrote about the polar star and about the 7 stars. And he wrote that it appears that on the order of the polar star, all the 7 stars appears to be dancing in the night. it gives an idea that our scientists have always been approaching through a scientific approach, and they were very precise knowledge. They have very precise knowledge of things about the stars, about sun, and about the universe and other things also. The India has been a developed country as far as the science is concerned, and from here the science has traveled through Arab to the Western countries, and the Western countries have given a new dress to it and made that they have invented these things. But of course, this is not the truth. The truth is that the India has always been approaching to the events of nature through a scientific approach. And the next scientist, Bhaskaracharya II, in his book Siddhanta Shiromani, says that there is a concept of gravitation which Newton has very late invented in his Principia. Book. So we find that there is a history of the Indian scientist, an ancient Indian scientist who can very precisely predict the different happenings of the nature, whether it is a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse or anything else. They were able to tell the happenings very correctly. And in Brahmagupta, in his Brahma Sput, says about the earth, that earth is a round body. So we find that the scientists of ancient India were having a great knowledge about the space and other things also. When this knowledge was translated into many other languages, the German scientist Schopenhauer says that it is India. And when we study the Indian literature, Vedas and the Upanishads, we find that the whole Indian atmosphere was affecting the nature in a scientific manner. And later, the A.L. Basham wrote a book, The Wonder That Was India. He praised yoga of India and the many other foreign thinkers and translators like William Jones and some other scientists of the Western origin have translated these Indian literature, and we find that Max Muller has also translated these books into English or German, and then they find that the thinking of the Indian scientist was of very high class, and they praised about the language Sanskrit. And we can say today that the ISRO chief, Mr. M. Somnath, has told that the Sanskrit is one of the best language of the world, and in which we can develop the artificial language. And he also found that in 8th century, in Surya Siddhant, it was written about the time scale and the solar energy. So India has a very bright past. And he also told that we are one of the richest country as far as the knowledge is concerned. So the M. Somnath, the chief of ISRO, has again given a new height to the Indian science. We now go to tell about what happened today. And today at 11:30 IST, when the Aditya L1 had been launched, what will it do? It will be established at the Lagrange point 1 in 125 days of its journey. And Lagrange point is named after a French-Italian scientist, Lagrange. This is a point from which we can live there, and there is a force of attraction and force of repulsions are almost equal, and they make no problem in staying there. And from that point we can continuously see the sun. What are the issues, what are the things that this solar mission Aditya L1 will do? Well, it will reach at L1 point, Lagrange point. It has got 7 payloads. 4 payloads will study the sun, and 3 payloads study in situ situation, that is the position at the Lagrange point. The first payload, that is very much important, is called what we can see BELC, variable energy line chronograph. So we shall study by it the corona of the sun. Corona is the outermost part of the sun, and which is not much hotter, but it is too hot that when it comes to the Aditya L1, and because of its hotness, it can only be studied through the lines and through the chronograph. So BELC will give a position that can study the corona of sun. When the rays come to the BELC, there will be a position of continuous solar eclipse in the system, and so that Aditya L1 will be able to see continuously to it through the solar eclipse, and the lines that will come and that will be measured, or the image of the rays will be taken in the BELC. The second important payload is SUIT, SUIT, solar ultraviolet imaging of telescope. So it will study the ultraviolet rays which comes from the sun. And the third payload, which is third and fourth payload, will study the X-ray from the middle and the lower area of the sun. The flares will be studied in the solar low energy X-ray, and high energy X-ray will also be studied. And thereafter we find that there are three payloads which are called in situ payloads. The first situ payload is called aspects Aditya solar particle experiment. Aditya solar particle experiment will study the solar particles around the Lagrange points and the effect of the solar particles on the Lagrange points. And similarly, there will be a second in situ payload that is called PAPA, or plasma analyzer package of Aditya. It will study the solar wind at the point of Lagrange, how these solar winds affects. These will be studies by PAPA. And the third C2 payload is called as MAG, or magnetometer. It will study the interplanetary magnetic field on the Lagrange point. So the study will be limited to the Lagrange point. The three payloads study in different nature of the sun's effect at the Lagrange point, and the four payloads will study the X-rays from the lower chromosphere and inner part of the sun. And the most important, that is to be studied how the sun makes the energy coming out of it, and how and what type of energy uh, is coming out and how it reaches, in what form it reaches, and in which form it is formed. So this will be studied by the BELC, and the X-rays will be studied by the two payloads. These X-rays will be coming from the lower or inner part or middle part of the sun. So this shows that the India has again shown a greatness of its science and its knowledge. But we find in the Quran that the 60,000 of our rishis were collected near Namisarand, and they discussed about the different aspect of the nature and the sun or the sky. But what is important and what is important in the with the present scenario of Earth is that the Indian science then discussed at Namisarand was for the betterment of the humanity, for the peacefulness of the humanity. So India has been a thinker of the whole earth, for the welfare of the whole earth. And this mission and these type of missions will again be for the development of the humanity and for the protection of our earth. So today we close up with again thanking the whole community of scientists in India and ISRO in particular, and also giving a congratulations to 1.4 billion people of India and 10 million people living abroad who have witnessed this great event happening in their life. So Indian superiority in the space have been established, but this superiority will go for making the earth more peaceful and more happier than it was ever before. Thank you very much.